Barack Obama sent them $1.6 billion. Joe sent them $6 billion and let them make $85 billion. And you know what Trump sent them? A cruise missile enema. Hi, and welcome to the I'm You podcast. Before we get started, if you like what you hear, please like, share, subscribe, and leave me a comment. I'd love to hear what you think. So on with the show. You know, I'm watching several current stories right now where Democrats are opposing things that the American public support by 80 to 90%. For example, over 90% of the country, including the vast majority of Democrat voters, do not want men playing in women's sports. Democrats do. Also, over 90% of Americans want illegal immigrant criminals to be deported, and about 56% want all illegal immigrants to be deported, criminal or not. Democrats don't. You want proof? 185 Democrats just voted against deporting illegal immigrant criminals who commit fraud on the United States, Medicare, Medicaid, government services, and so forth. Also, 56% of all Americans do not want to defund ICE. Democrats do. And I just saw a story that said the vast majority of Americans do not want young children at the age of 5 or 6 years old to learn about transgender and gay sex. Guess what? Democrats do. And one of the best examples of being completely disconnected from the American people, voter ID. The vast majority of Americans, over 85%, want voter ID, including 77% of Democrats and 86% of independents. Democrats don't. Almost every Democrat now has voted against the bill 5 times. So it made me think, well, Democrats, who do you represent? Do you really represent people fighting climate change? No, not anymore. Because Elon Musk was the green messiah 5 years ago, but as soon as he started to support Trump, you ditched all of your environmentalist nonsense and started torching Teslas, the very electric cars you were trying to force us all to buy about 5 minutes ago, and assaulting innocent Tesla owners all over the country. And almost none of your elected Democrat representatives in Washington would denounce the violence. Also, you stole all the money from the Green New Scam. We have literally spent trillions of dollars over the last 30 years on so-called green energy without a single degree of change in the temperature. So did the left finally admit the whole climate change thing was complete, total hoax against the world? Nope, they just doubled down. Joe Biden even admitted after the American Rescue Plan was passed that it really wasn't a rescue plan. It was a climate change bill. You enriched all of your friends, your donors, and Democrat candidates to the tune of over $1 trillion, with a T, dollars. You even gave $8 billion to your friends to build 50,000 EV charging stations and built only 9 in 4 years. Where's that money? Oh, and guess what? Again, there hasn't been one iota of a drop in temperature after spending $1.7 trillion. Not one. Not a half a degree. Not nothing. Zero.
There has been no net warming since 1998. As per the UAH satellite record, February 2026 has just come in at 0.39 C, that is cooler than February 1998. The UAH measures lower troposphere temperatures using microwave sensors on board NASA and NOAA satellites, providing near-global coverage independent of what are often compromised surface stations. Despite the rise in atmospheric CO2, the satellite record shows no net warming since the 1998 El Niño spike.
Now get this. The New York Times right now is telling Democrats to drop the whole climate change thing, saying they don't need to run on climate change. You know why? Because climate change has never been a top priority for the people of the United States. Never. Right now it's at 36%. It was the lowest issue on the top 10 issues for American voters. And now the New York Times, of all places, is saying, yeah, it was all bullshit. You know, we tried. We got everybody rich that we needed to get rich. We didn't make any difference in the environment at all. Every single prediction, and I mean every single prediction the Democrats and liberals made about climate change never came true. Not one.
Name me one. Name me one.
There is a 75% chance that the entire North Polar ice cap during some of the summer months could be completely ice-free within the next 5 to 7 years.
You have sea ice, which is melting at a rate that the Arctic Ocean now increasingly is exposed. In 5 years, scientists predict we will have the first ice-free Arctic summer.
What a load of shit.
A federal report today predicted possible catastrophic warming of the Earth by the 1990s with the strong climate change.
Concern about rising temperatures on planet Earth heated up a hearing here in Washington today. For years, scientists have theorized about the dangers of the so-called greenhouse effect, the warming of the Earth's atmosphere due to the burning of coal and oil.
Millennials and people and Gen Z and all these folks that come after us are looking up, and we're like, the world is going to end in 12 years if we don't address climate change. And your biggest issue is your biggest issue is how are we going to pay for it?
These people are crazy. I'm telling you, they're crazy.
So do they have to pay for that? Do I get my money back of all the taxes you stole from me for your nonsense climate change hoax that never materialized and was never actually in practice at all? Do I get my money back for the solar panels? The windmills? They're an eyesore to everyone and their mothers. And what do you do with the windmill blades? They're not biodegradable. So you're going to stack all this crap up in a landfill along with your solar panels, which, by the way, including windmills, cost more in environmental damage than they actually save.
To replace global fossil fuel consumption with solar would take 274 billion panels. The energy to mine, manufacture, and install those panels translates to 96 billion barrels of oil, 374 trillion cubic feet of natural gas, and 23 billion tons of coal. Then there's the fact that solar panels last only 15 to 20 years before needing replacing, meaning the cycle of mining, smelting, and building repeats every generation. Even if 274 billion panels were built and installed, solar doesn't deliver 24/7 power. Massive backup systems, batteries, gas plants, or other infrastructure would still be required, demanding billions more tons of material. You can't mine and manufacture your way out of the second law of thermodynamics. Solar is not a one-time build. It's an industrial treadmill, endless mining, endless rebuilding, endless waste, all to chase an illusion of replacing the dense, affordable, and reliable energy we already have.
This was going to turn out to be, and I guess it already is, the greatest hoax, the greatest scam ever perpetrated on humankind. Not just the United States, I mean the entire earth. Because the stupid-ass liberals in Europe swallowed the whole thing too. They've literally bankrupted their economies for this. And now you can't get energy in Germany or France. Or Britain has the highest energy prices on earth. For what? Again, nothing. Not 1 degree. Not 1/10 of 1 degree. 0 degrees difference in the 40 years they foisted this bullshit on us.
Oh no! What happened?
And you liberals out there, you just bought it. You sucked it up like a baby cow in its mother's teat. And now it's going to like, never mind. Just kidding.
What?
Absolutely unbelievable that anybody would vote for these people. Okay, so you don't represent climate change anymore. Do you represent women? Well, no. As I mentioned previously, over 90% of the country doesn't want men playing in women's sports. Nevertheless, every Democrat congressperson voted to keep men in women's sports. Every one of them. And just to put a pin in it, every Democrat senator also voted to keep men in women's sports, including their locker rooms. actually advocating for boys to change in front of our little girls and young women fully nude, hanging their junk out in the girls' locker room. And in the height of hypocrisy, Democrat women had the gall to wear pink last year. Supposedly means you stand for women at the joint session of Congress Donald Trump made. One day after all of them voted to keep men and women's sports, they wore pink to show their solidarity. You need more? Democrats overwhelmingly support the Palestinians in Gaza, including Hamas.
We're going to show you from the West Bank. These are Palestinian celebrations in the wake of Tuesday's terror attacks in the United States. Apparently, Palestinians took to the street chanting, "God is great." People were throwing candy, distributing candy to passersby. The U.S. government obviously has become increasingly unpopular, particularly in the West Bank and Gaza Strip, because Palestinians feel that the U.S. government has sided with Israel. One man, Nawal Abdel Fattah, wearing a long black dress, threw sweets in the air saying, actually that's a woman, pardon me, saying she was happy because, quote, America is the head of the snake. America always stands by Israel in its war against us.
One of the most heinous societies on earth for women.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. أنا كان عمري 10 سنوات. بعدين تقدم لي أحد الأشخاص فإخواني وافقوا عليه. دفع لهم 700,000 وافقوا عليه. فزوجوني وأنا لسه في المدرسة يعني أنا صغيرة ما كنتش حق زواج. أنا كان أشتي أكمل تعليمي أدرس أكون حاجة في المستقبل.
5 years old, 7 years, 9 years, 6 years old. These are girls already sold into marriage, many too young to even know their own ages.
They are owned by her master. A woman owned by her master has to freely give herself to the master. The master has the right to have sexual relations with her.
How does consent play into this at all?
By virtue of the fact that she's owned, she does not have the right to consent. Or to withhold herself from her master. The master has the full right over her, and her consent does not play anything in this relationship.
Extreme violence and subjugation of women are even codified in their laws and in the Quran. They support these people, knowing they perform genital mutilation on 80% of their little girls when they're only 9, 10, or 11 years old. Women have to cover themselves from head to foot and have zero voice in government or anything else. Girls or women are not allowed to go to school, participate in government, drive a car, or even leave their houses without the permission of a man. It is legal for husbands to beat their wives for disobeying. They can even be stoned to death for the crime of being raped.
Her that she is punished and she is stoned to death. And according to the Sharia again, when it comes to women, there must be a hole dug in the earth, in the ground, and she must be covered up to the half of the body.
And the rapist is rarely charged. And even if he is, the typical punishment is to let the father or brother of the woman who was raped rape the rapist's sister or mother. And they have no say in it. They just have to allow themselves to be raped, perfectly innocent women. As a matter of fact, even to accuse a man of rape, the woman must find 5 males to say she was raped. Now, what do you think the odds of that are? This is the party of women? Of course not. Democrats are too busy putting on the phony Handmaid's Tale rallies in a country that has no repression whatsoever of women and completely ignoring Iranian women who have been repressed, beaten, raped, and even killed without one word from any Democrat. Just another example of the fact that the Democrat Party is completely detached from objective reality and massive hypocrites. The only women they truly support now are men pretending to be women. Man, I'd hate to see what it would be like if the Democrats didn't claim to support and protect them. And by the way, how on earth can you say you represent women when you can't even define one?
Can you provide a definition for the word woman?
Can I provide a definition? No.
Yeah.
I can't.
You can't?
Not in
Okay.
this context.
So
I'm
you
not a
believe the
biologist.
meaning of the word.
Is that what you call representing women? Okay, well, do you represent the black community? Yeah, no. Even though 77% of black people, as I mentioned earlier, support voter ID, the Democrat Party's argument against voter ID is basically that black people are too stupid to get an ID. Remember when Joe Biden said poor kids are just as bright as talented as white kids?
We have this notion that somehow if you're poor, you cannot do it. Poor kids are just as bright and just as talented as white kids.
And Gavin Newsom just announced at a conference that he was just like black people because he only got a 960 on his SATs. Basically, again, calling all black people stupid. Check this out.
I'm not trying to impress you. I'm just trying to impress upon you. I'm like you. I'm no better than you. I'm a 960 SAT guy. And I'm not trying to offend anyone, trying to act all there if you got 940. But literally a 960 SAT guy.
Life is hard, but it's harder when you're stupid.
What the f***? They've basically just tossed the black community under the bus and taken for granted that they're going to be voting Democrat. And on this one, I'm afraid they're pretty much right. But let me ask the black community too, before you vote next time, just ask yourself, what has the Democrat Party done for your community, or even you personally? When's the last time you even heard a Democrat talk about jobs in the inner city? When's the last time you heard any Democrat talk about how the lousy schools are in the inner city? Or never mind proposing a plan to fix it. Were your schools any better under the Biden administration? Did the Biden administration make your community any better? It's absolutely amazing. And doesn't it kind of make you think that every 2 to 4 years, the Democrats are always promising the exact same thing? Since the 60s? Lower crime, better schools, more jobs. And yet they never seem to really happen. Don't you think about that? These people have been promising you this stuff for 60 years and they still haven't delivered. So what are they going to do? Well, of course, they're just going to promise it to you again on this election. I hope you don't fall for it. I think African American people are too smart. You really need to wake up and put people in office who really care about your situation, who really care about your communities and your children. And it's not just Newsom. There are multiple Democrats on TV all the time basically saying they don't want voter ID because they think black people are too stupid to get an ID. Something millions of 16-year-olds do every year. Does anyone even know a black American or any adult that doesn't have an ID? I don't. When's the last time you heard a Democrat talk about the crime in the inner cities? Seriously, when? And you won't now because it's all about illegal immigrants. They don't care about you anymore. And don't be fooled when Democrats tell you that illegal immigrants can't vote. Now, legally speaking, they can't cast an individual ballot, even though tens of thousands of them actually do. The insidious part that most Americans don't understand is that even if illegal immigrants weren't voting at the voting booth, they're counted in the census, which is used to apportion seats in Congress. For approximately every 750,000 people, they allot one congressperson. So just think about that for a minute. Divide 20 million illegals by 750,000 and see what you get. Just to make the point, there have been many studies that show if illegal immigrants weren't counted in the census, the Democrat Party would lose anywhere from 20 to 27 seats in Congress. That means illegal immigrants have between 20 and 27 congresspeople representing them, not you. Now you know why they're representing illegal immigrants over American citizens, which is a federal felony, by the way. Check this out. This is the United States U.S. Code 1324, upheld by the Supreme Court just in 2023, by the way, about inducing illegal aliens to come to the United States illegally. So notice the first paragraph. It says that any person who encourages or induces an alien to come to, enter the United States knowing or in reckless disregard of the fact that such coming to, entry, or residence is or will be a violation of the law shall, notice it doesn't say maybe, it says shall be punished, be imprisoned for up to 5 years. In addition to that, in case that is done for commercial or financial gain, the punishment is 10 years. But this is exactly what Democrats all over the country are doing. They're offering incentives, they're offering money, they're offering food, they're offering housing, they're offering insurance. They're offering debit cards, just cash, to buy whatever they want. The benefits for illegals, when you add all that up, actually surpasses the average household income in the United States of a family of 4 with 2 working parents. If the violation causes serious bodily injury to or places in jeopardy the life of any person, which Democrats do on a constant basis, the punishment is up to 20 years in prison. And to top it off, if the violation results in the death of any person, the punishment is death or life in prison. So based on this statute, every Democrat city council member, mayor, governor, congressman, senator, and even president that initiates sanctuary city policies should be in jail for at least 20 years. And for the absolute accessories to murder like J.B. Pritzker, Brandon Johnson, Zoran Mamdani, and Abigail Spanberger should be executed, as they all fit the exact definition of inducing illegal aliens to come and then release them into the public to assault, rape, and kill Americans. And please, anyone who's going to comment and say that they're not inducing illegals, save it. What do you call releasing them into the country? Giving them food, clothing, cell phones, housing, transportation, to anywhere they want to go in the U.S., where they receive a debit card that's more money per month on average than the average American who is working full time. That's not just inducement, it's straight up bribery. Okay, let's try this one. Are you against violent illegal immigrant gangs? Well, no. Democrat politicians flew over 3,000 miles to El Salvador to try to bring back a gangbanger who was a human trafficker, a Tren de Aragua gang member, drug dealer, and wife beater. Democrats are fighting every day to keep violent illegal immigrant murderers, rapists, and child molesters in their cities and states. That's crazy. Democrats openly support rioters attacking law enforcement. The very people taking hundreds of thousands of violent illegal immigrant criminals off the streets. Even though they say that crime is dropping nationwide at amazing levels, every category of crime has dropped significantly. To the point where we are, thanks to President Trump, by the way, living in the safest United States in the last 126 years. The normal sane person would be celebrating, but Democrats are actually calling the president racist, xenophobic, and a fascist for removing these scumbags from our country. And on cue, as if to put a fine point on the statement that they don't support the American people, at the State of the Union, when President Trump asked everyone to stand who believed in the principle that the first job of government is to protect the American people and not illegal immigrants.
One of the great things about the State of the Union is how it gives Americans the chance to see clearly what their representatives really believe. So tonight I'm inviting every legislator to join with my administration in reaffirming a fundamental principle. If you agree with this statement, then stand up and show your support. The first duty of the American government is to protect American citizens, not illegal aliens. Isn't that a shame? You should be ashamed of yourself not standing up. You should be ashamed of yourself.
Every Republican senator and representative stood up and applauded. Only one Democrat stood up, John Fetterman. Every other Democrat stayed seated. So they don't believe their job is to support the American people. Finally, showing public if they represent illegal immigrant criminals over the American people. These are the people Democrats have abandoned. And here's some of their heroes. Well, then I'm sure they must support and advocate for the victims of illegal immigrant murderers, child molesters, and rapists. No, not a single Democrat senator or congressperson has called or visited any of the angel moms who lost their children to violent illegal immigrants. Even if those moms were actually in their own state, but they can fly 3,000 miles to advocate for a criminal. And at President Trump's State of the Union last year, not one Democrat would stand and acknowledge the angel moms who had lost their daughters to illegal immigrant murderers. They wouldn't stand for these women. At this year's State of the Union, the Democrats couldn't even stand for a little girl who was crippled by a drunk illegal immigrant in a car crash. They couldn't even stand for a mother whose son was stabbed to death by an illegal immigrant that Joe Biden let into the country. Or even the mother of Irina Zarutska, the young woman who escaped the Ukraine war to come to the United States and was brutally stabbed to death by a lunatic who had been arrested 7 times for violent felonies by the Democrats in North Carolina and released onto the streets every single time.
We are honored to be joined tonight by a woman who's been through hell, Anya Zarutska. In 2022, she and her beautiful daughter, so beautiful, what a beautiful young woman, Irina fled war-torn Ukraine to live with relatives near Charlotte, North Carolina. Last summer, 23-year-old Irina was riding home on the train when a deranged monster who had been arrested over a dozen times and was released through no cash bail stood up and viciously slashed a knife through her neck and body. No one will ever forget. There were people on that train. No one will ever forget the expression of terror on Irina's face as she looked up at her attacker in the last seconds of her life. She died instantly. Mrs. Zarutska, tonight I promise you we will ensure justice for your magnificent daughter, Irina. How do you not stand? How do you not stand?
I think if the president wanted Democrats to stand up, he would have given Ryan Ruth a medal, and that would have brought them to their feet immediately. These people are sick. This is the party of women. I would hate to see what it would be like for women if the Democrats didn't claim to support and protect them. Conversely, though, Donald Trump signed a proclamation on February 23rd, creating Angel Families Day to honor those families that have lost their loved ones to the illegal immigrant murderers that Democrats defend. Okay, Democrats, so do you represent children? No. You took them out of school and kept them out for 2 years longer than they needed to be and destroyed their education. Many will never catch up. And even worse, you paid off the teachers' unions and let them make policy about our children in schools. So of course they picked not working. And how are the Democrats going to make up for it? Well, Oregon just became the newest Democrat state to completely eliminate reading, writing, and math skills to qualify for high school graduation. And people wonder why major universities, including Harvard, are now having to teach their freshman classes remedial math and remedial English. You're also against school choice, another issue that a majority of Americans believe in. But you want to trap kids in failing schools to protect the teachers' unions. As if that wasn't bad enough, you allowed hundreds of thousands or maybe millions of children to be trafficked into the United States for sex or work slavery. You actually lost 350,000 children and made no effort whatsoever to find them. Who knows what these poor kids are undergoing right now? Luckily, Donald Trump has found over 165,000 of those children and rescued them from sex trafficking and labor slavery and reunited them with their families. All while Democrats are calling ICE the actual people who rescued these kids and arrested over 400,000 violent illegal immigrant criminals and terrorists, again, while 56% of Americans are against defunding ICE. And not one Democrat stood up for banning states from taking children away from their parents to get them gender-affirming care, which means mutilating their genitals. Not one.
Say what?
Almost 90% of the country is against gender-affirming care for minors, including chemical or surgical mutilation. Do you know who's for it? Democrats. You know, China is teaching their 10-year-olds calculus while our Democrats want to cut off their penises. So do you stand for health? Obviously not. Just look at you. Do you represent public safety? Of course not, from the hundreds of things I've already mentioned, but as I mentioned previously, you fight for criminals to be released into the public. I'm constantly hearing about this rule of law that you all so deeply respect, at the same time you're refusing to actually comply with the rule of law. I guess you only support the rule of law when you like that rule. Actually, going as far as releasing violent illegal immigrant criminals onto our own streets rather than calling ICE to have them removed from the country, even knowing that they're probably going to assault, murder, rape more of your own citizens, maybe your family or friend. And as if last year's election didn't happen, they're calling to defund ICE, which is no different than calling to defund the police. How'd that work out for you guys last time? Multiple Democrat mayors and governors are actually suing the Trump administration to keep illegal immigrant murderers, rapists, and child molesters in their cities or states. Think about that. And some liberal judges are even trying to force the Trump administration to actually bring terrorists and illegal immigrant murderers back into the United States that we finally got rid of. And this is the biggest cell phone with the Democrat Party that proves they don't even believe what they say. And it is no more clearly exhibited than by their ridiculous, destructive, and murderous sanctuary city policies. Democrats nationwide are constantly screaming about how they don't want ICE in their neighborhoods, terrorizing the people. So they prohibit their law enforcement from cooperating with ICE to pick up illegal alien criminals. Now the irony here, if you haven't noticed here, is that the best way to keep ICE officers off the street is to cooperate with them and let them pick up the criminals in jail. That would take one agent. They're too stupid to realize that their failure to let ICE pick up criminals in jail is exactly what forces ICE back into the neighborhoods, you idiots, with dozens of agents. Border czar Tom Holman said it best.
She's not going to stop us from doing our job. So rather than one agent taking a custody of one bad guy in the safety and security of a jail, which is safer for the officer, safer for the alien, and safer for the community, she's going to allow him to be released back in the street, which means now the job that one agent could have done, I got to send a few jobs team of 6 or 7 agents to go find that person. That if we lose those efficiencies and we got to send more agents to the street to find them, that requires more resources, and that's exactly what they're going to get.
So do you represent the middle class, at least? No. You foisted Bidenomics on the country and cost of living soared, crushing the middle class. You actively campaigned to deny the middle class an extension of the Trump tax cuts would have resulted in the largest tax increase in American history for the middle class. So stop it. And almost every Democrat governor in the country is now proposing even more taxes, which hit the middle class the hardest. Abigail Spanberger, the supposed moderate, lied for a year to the people of Virginia about approving affordability, and when voted into office, immediately proposed 50 new taxes, including ridiculous things like taxing your dog walker or your leaf blower. Who does she think those taxes are going to hit the hardest? Do you represent fighting terrorism? No. You and your liberal friends actually fought to keep immigrant Hamas spokesmen in the country who is leading violent protests for the terrorist group. And you call Netanyahu a war criminal for retaliating for 1,400 brutal murders of innocent Jews by Hamas. But you support Hamas. When's the last time you've heard any Democrat or liberal news network even mention that? October 7th. Nope. Democrats went all in for genocide in Palestine. Two completely fake terms, by the way, even though 85% of the Palestinian people cheered 9/11 and celebrated the October 7th attacks.
We're going to show you from the West Bank. These are Palestinian celebrations in the wake of Tuesday's terror attacks in the United States. Apparently, Palestinians took to the street chanting, "God is great." People were throwing candy, distributing candy to passersby.
And if you can believe it, a group of Democrat senators actually went to El Salvador to try to force the return of an illegal immigrant gangbanger, wife beater, and human trafficker and terrorist back into the United States. Where were these guys going to Russia or Venezuela to try to get back our actual American citizen hostages that Biden left hanging for 4 years? I'll tell you where. They were nowhere. Trump managed to do it in about 3 weeks. Did you know that when Congressman Chip Roy introduced a bill to designate the murderous Mexican cartels that have killed hundreds of thousands of Americans with fentanyl poisoning as terrorist organizations, almost every Democrat voted against it. Voted against designating murderous terrorists terrorists. Think about that. Democrat politicians voted against designating Mexican cartels as a terrorist organization. The same cartels that murder, kidnap, traffic women and children for sex and work slavery and have caused the deaths of hundreds of thousands of people around the world, including the U.S., with fentanyl. 53 Democrats just voted no to designating Iran as the leading state sponsor of terror. Who the hell could be against that? Well, Democrats, that's who. And for the same reason as everything else, if Donald Trump or Republicans want it, they refuse to help, even if it results in the deaths of our family, friends, colleagues, and even our kids. The president had to use his executive power to designate them as terrorists. They don't care about American citizens, it's obvious. Just illegal immigrant criminals and terrorists. You need more proof? Check this out. These are the people Democrats represent. You don't think the Democrats support terrorists? How about this? Joe Biden unfroze $8 billion of Iranian money the minute he entered office and gave it back to them.
Morning, serious questions about previous U.S. policy toward Iran during the Biden administration after reports show billions of dollars was handed over to the largest state sponsor of terrorism. As part of a hostage deal and prisoner swap in 2023, President Biden allowed Iran to take $6 billion in funds that were frozen because of sanctions. 2 months later, Iranian-backed terror group Hamas attacked Israel, killing more than 1,200 and taking 254 hostages.
He also broke the embargo and let them start selling their oil, again making over $85 billion financing all the terrorism in the Middle East and his entire administration.
Why it is the Bidens will not impose sanctions on Iran, which is producing more oil than they have in years, about 3.5 million barrels a day, selling it to China, about 1.5 million barrels a day to China. Trump shut that all down. Bidens have opened that all up, and that money, as you know, sir, that money is being used to finance the terrorist war against Israel. It's being used to finance terrorist war for Russia, et cetera, et cetera.
And let's not forget the Messiah, Barack Hussein Obama, the president that famously sent Iran pallets of cash thinking he could sneak it in under the radar and not be noticed. He sent $1.6 billion of cash to the Iranian government. Now think about that. 2 Democrat American presidents helped Iran finance terrorism, including the killing of Americans. If you could pick just one, though, Joe Biden was even worse. At the end of his first term, Trump had the Iranians in the weakest position they had ever been in, other than now, and Joe Biden opened up the floodgates of their money to fund their terrorist activity and that of their proxies around the Middle East. Joe Biden financed every missile that is killing Americans right now. Again, Barack Obama sent them $1.6 billion Joe sent them $6 billion and let them make $85 billion. And you know what Trump sent them? A cruise missile enema. All right, so we've covered that. So do you represent the American worker? No. You're okay with our factories going to China, Canada, and Mexico, and you've done nothing about it. President Biden and Democrats during the last administration made zero effort to bring jobs back to America. During his entire 4 years, Joe Biden got less than $1 trillion of investment commitments. In just 1 year, President Trump has gotten over $20 trillion worth of investment commitments from all around the world. Now get this. You know how the Democrats are constantly calling conservatives Nazis and Hitler and fascists for the last 10 years? Well, I guess they've gotten over that. Now they've just nominated Graham Plattner for senator from Maine, an actual Nazi sympathizer who went as far as to put a Nazi tattoo on his chest for a decade. I guess it's okay when you're their Nazi. He also says brilliant things like women are responsible for their own rapes.
Did you know Graham Plattner wrote that women worried about rape need to, quote,
not get so up they wind up having sex with someone they don't mean to.
It's disgusting. Plattner wrote to avoid rape, women should, quote,
act like an adult for sake.
And Hamas was right, as well as calling himself an Antifa super soldier. Oh, it gets better. The Democrats in Michigan are running a candidate that's openly in support of Hamas terrorists and the Palestinians, and actually campaigns with a popular leftist podcaster, Hassan Piker, who said the U.S. deserved 9/11 and that Hamas were freedom fighters. He also says that he wishes someone would kill the president. This is a Democrat candidate for senator. No one Democrat has spoken out against him. Not one.
Name me one. Name me one.
You know, I don't know, but I'm waiting for a rally where he actually kills a Jew on stage to the roaring crowds of supporters. He would cinch the Democrat spot in a heartbeat. Do you stand for border security? No, what a joke. I don't even know why I'm saying this. You lied to the country for 4 years about the border and let 20 million or more illegal immigrants, regardless of their criminal history. You actually let in 100 people on the terrorist watch list and released them into the country. Now we're finding out that in addition to lying to the country about the border being secure, Joe Biden also lied about 100,000 illegal immigrant arrests. He actually released every single one of them into the country. Again, 80% of the country wants all illegal immigrant criminals deported immediately. And 56% of Americans want all illegal immigrants deported. Now, as if you couldn't understand with all the things I've been listing, the reality is that Democrats don't stand for anything. And I mean that literally. In addition to the other crap at last year's State of the Union, Democrats wouldn't even stand for a 13-year-old boy with brain cancer, a black boy, by the way, who they also claim to represent, or a mother whose daughter was murdered by one of their criminal illegal immigrants. Why, you ask? Because President Trump wanted to acknowledge them. That's it. And that's sick. The Democrats' only policy is hate Trump. They're actually attacking our gold medal hockey champions in the Olympics because they accepted an invitation to a State of the Union from the President of the United States. And the most laughable complaint is that Kash Patel, the FBI director, was at the Olympics celebrating with the hockey team. Every single president has sent cabinet members to the Olympics. Every one. Obama sent Joe Biden. They even have a candidate for governor of Illinois putting out an ad that just has multiple people saying, fuck Trump. The entire ad is fuck Trump and vote for me. Check this out.
Fuck Trump. Vote Juliana.
Fuck Trump. Vote Juliana.
Fuck Trump. Vote Juliana.
They said it, not me. I'm Juliana Stratton, and I'm proud to have lived my whole life on the south side of Chicago. I'm not scared of a wannabe dictator. I'm running for Senate to stand up to Donald Trump. I'll abolish ICE and hold Trump accountable for the crimes he's committed. Just like they said, fuck
Trump.
Fuck Trump.
Fuck Trump.
Vote Juliana.
That's why I approve this message.
No ideas, no explanations of why she should be governor, no policy positions, no solutions for any of the problems in Illinois. Just fuck Trump. And stupid-ass Democrats in Illinois will still vote for this clown. The Democrats have become a party of childish, delusional lunatics. They only represent about 10% of their party who are literally mentally disturbed lunatics. They are scared shitless of these moron activists to the point where they can no longer function as a legitimate party that represents the actual American people. They literally have nothing to offer the American people, including their own constituents. Nothing. 73 Democrats refused to go to the State of the Union address because, of course, Trump, showing once again, as if you needed another example, that they won't even represent their own constituents at the State of the Union address. They don't care about you. They actually had an alternate State of the Union somewhere in Washington, D.C. that included people dressed as dancing frogs. This is the ultimate in childishness. They're like a kid who takes his football and goes home because he won't let him be quarterback. Or a teen girl throwing a tantrum because mom won't let her get tickets to the Olivia Rodrigo concert. Humiliating. They have no regard for anything. They can't even honor tradition or decorum anymore. It's all about posting and hating the president. Even the Democrat response to the State of the Union was a massive example of lack of self-awareness. Your speaker was Abigail Spanberger, ironically. She actually had the gall to talk about affordability when, as I mentioned previously, less than a month into office, she's proposed 50 new taxes on the citizens of Virginia. 50! How does that help affordability? Oh, it gets even better. She also talked about the president's inability to keep people safe. Then she immediately, upon taking office, makes Virginia a sanctuary state to protect illegal immigrant murderers, rapists, and child molesters from being arrested. Then she passed 15 gun control laws, many of which will be overturned by the courts, of course, but they don't care. If Trump wanted to build a massive wind or solar farm or personally save the whale himself, the Democrats would be against it. If Trump signed a bill rescuing all cats from euthanasia, the Democrats would be out clubbing cats to death the next day. Here's a good example.
Must make the cuts in waste, fraud, and abuse in Medicare. We owe it to our country.
There is an enormous amount of waste and fraud and abuse in this government. When there is waste and fraud, you have an administration who should also be on top of that situation.
If we're going to eliminate the waste, fraud, and abuse in Medicare, it does mean we're going to cut some of that out. We want to cut the bad stuff and keep the good stuff.
Now, how about Rachel Maddow before and after? Check this out. And here's the harbinger of democracy, Nancy Pelosi, who's talking now about the illegitimate war that the president is doing and how unconstitutional it is. This is just one of the hypocritical views of the Democrat Party. I could go on for hours, but I won't torture you. They've learned nothing from the election. They immediately started back with Russia collusion, for God's sake. Trump is Hitler and his supporters are fascists and white supremacists. Doubling down on everything that lost them the 2024 election. They are even letting the far left take over colleges and universities by force to protest for terrorist organizations. No comment from the Democrats. The root of the problem is that Democrats have lost their heart, their soul, and their conscience. They have become detached from objective reality. It's hard to shock me at this point, but when I saw Hakeem Jeffries at a press conference after President's State of the Union speech, where the president mentioned that not one illegal immigrant had crossed the border in 10 months, Hakeem Jeffries, the dollar store Obama, actually had the gall to say that the president is failing on immigration. This from the party who lied about Obamacare, who lied about trafficking guns to the Mexican cartels, who lied about the Inflation Reduction Act, who lied about the Infrastructure Act, who lied about the border, who lied about the Biden family extortion, who lied about Russia collusion, who lied about soldiers with bounties on their heads. And that's just a few of the out of thousands of times the Democrats have lied to the American people. They have reached a point where I think they're actually physically incapable of telling the truth anymore. I don't even think they understand the concept. They have no ingrained principles at all. Their principles are decided on a daily basis based on what Trump is doing. Now here's a little proof.
Average U.S. MFN tariff on Chinese goods coming into the United States is 2%, whereas the average Chinese MFN tariff on U.S. goods going into China is 35%. Is that reciprocal? In terms of jobs, this is the biggest and cruelest hoax of all. The China trade supports 170,000 jobs in the United States, 170,000 jobs, whereas our imports from China support 10 million jobs at least. The fact is that U.S.-China trade is a job loser.
They were all advocating for tariffs 30 years ago, but now that Trump is imposing them, they're all against him. Every single day I see dozens of posts on social media openly calling for the death of conservatives and the president.
And you should be afraid, because that makes you a Nazi. And guess what? I kill Nazis just like my grandfathers before me. And business will be fucking good when this shit starts. Try me. I've had enough. I've had enough. I'm ready to spill blood. I'm ready to fucking take lives, fuck taking names. I'll remember that shit when I pass beyond the pearly gates.
The donor class can't just sit back on the sidelines and say, oh, well, don't worry, this will all work itself out. They're still going to have to go out and put a bullet in Donald Trump, and that's a fact.
So you want Trump to get shot?
I do.
Why?
Get rid of him.
Why? Why would you want somebody like that to get killed? That's horrible.
Is it? You think?
Yes, it is. You should never wish for a president to get shot.
Think about that for a minute. That's just on my personal feed. Now multiply that by hundreds of millions of people using X and TikTok. And if you really want to get a pulse of the Democrat Party, check out their social media site, Blue Sky. You will literally find thousands of posts calling directly for the murder of President Trump. And as long as you feel like scrolling, you'll see them over and over and over and over again. And the ones that aren't calling for his murder are bemoaning the fact that the assassins so far have failed to kill him. Could someone please find me the conservative equivalent? I'll wait. The left is the party of hatred and murder, and they don't even try to hide it anymore. There are probably a minimum of tens of thousands of deluded lunatics on the left threatening the president and conservatives. And I've heard not one Democrat condemn it. Not one.
Name me one. Name me one.
Do you know what I never saw, though? I never saw one post on social media when Joe Biden was president threatening his life or hoping for his death or the death of a Democrat politician. Not one. Do you know why? Because conservatives and Republicans are normal people. We call our opponents wrong, while Democrats call us evil and actually call for us to be assaulted or even killed over our politics. And it seems to be getting out there. We just had a third attempt to kill the president. Directly from Democrat vitriol. Directly. You think they might take it to heart that their rhetoric might be influencing people to do bad things. Nope. They're actually doubling down. They continue to call the president Hitler, fascist, threat to democracy. Even heard one Democrat congressman say that Trump is in the Epstein files because he raped young girls and actually killed some.
These people are crazy. I'm telling you, they're crazy.
That's nuts. But they don't think they're doing anything wrong. And now many say the assassination attempt was staged. Now it seems every time they have a chance, the Democrat just brings shame upon themselves. Always stunts over substance. Always. They are intellectually bankrupt at this point. So to answer my original question, who do the Democrats represent? All they represent is hate, racism, anti-Semitism, misogyny, death threats, voter fraud, illegal immigrant criminals, and violence. All the things that harm and divide the American people. As if you needed more proof, a recent poll found that over 2/3 of Democrats aren't proud to be American. Can you believe that? There's an old saying that when people show you who they are, believe them. The Democrats have shown us who they are. I've never seen a party work so hard to remove a president, but not drug dealers, child traffickers, and illegal immigrant murderers and rapists. Democrat Party has just become the party of hate.
That fuck Trump, if you listen to this, you listen good, because what I'm getting ready to say is what a lot of people in this country speak for, who I speak for. And I speak for a lot of fucking people. You hear me, you fat asshole? This is what we believe. You're right. I got Trump derangement syndrome. I hate the motherfucker. And you know what? I don't want to get rid of it. I don't want to get better. I want to get worse. I want to hate him more. I pray to God in heaven, God reign the righteous reign of Trump derangement syndrome. Pray for me, Lord. I'm your vessel on this earth. Pray for the people that listen to this. We want more. We want to hate the son of a bitch so much that we can't see straight.
Just think about it for a minute. Have you heard any Democrat talk about their plan for the economy? How they would handle the Iranian problem? Any plans for immigration? Let me help you. No, because they don't have any. Their entire party is based on hatred of Donald Trump and shitting on America. If you stripped out the hatred from the Democrat Party, what would you have? Absolutely nothing. We used to call people like this demented. Now we just call them Democrats. I think the president said it best.
These people are sick. There's something wrong with them.
Well, so that's about it for today. If you like what you hear, please like, share, subscribe, and leave me a comment. I really would love to hear what you have to say. So as always, I hope you're having a great day, and I'll see you on the next one.
Thank you.